It's always so exciting when this first comes on. Hi, everyone. Medium Rachel Vanik here. I hope you are having a beautiful Tuesday. And there we go. Now I'm freezing again, but that's okay. We're just going to jump right into it. So I am right now in Corning, Iowa. The weather is the perfect amount of cloudiness and warmth. It's warm outside and cloudy, and I'm loving it. It's like fall's coming out and the winter's coming in. So I'm just going to jump right into this. So I had a soul connect with me right at the beginning of coming on here, and I noticed that there are people that do connect through the show, whether it be via YouTube or watching here live on Moonstruck TV, or whether it be later on in the podcast. So I can't ever guarantee who comes through. Spirit runs the show. Sometimes I see things, hear things, smell things, or like it's the feeling of their personalities. So like this, like I have this whole thing that I wanted to say, and like now it's out the window. So I tried to make myself like put this bubble around me to stop like souls from coming in and talking before there was a caller or there was watchers or listeners. And then like, so you could almost like see the souls kind of closing in. And they're like, hey, but then there was this one that was like, I'm now here in your aura. It's almost like penetrating a bubble is how it felt. So he's like, get to the point. So I have a grandfather figure here, and he presents himself like in his 70s, maybe early 80s, but he's spry. He likes to use the term, I'm spry. And he's presenting himself. There's, what is that show? It's like they're out on this farm, and he's got like this cane, but his hair, he shows his hair. He's like a bald up here, and it's rounded and it's white, and he's wearing like blue plaid, and he's kind of hunched over, but he's spry, like he's witty. Like I would have been the type of grandfather to make jokes, but in a sweet, loving manner. They were witty and sly. And he says that he is connected with a granddaughter on the call, but then also shows her husband here with. So maybe for those of you watching at home or listening to this, it is directed for you and your husband, because he's acknowledging that also there's this husband figure here. And he keeps like pointing back, like son, husband, but then daughter, granddaughter. And that would have been the type of relationship that they would have had. And he shows me this kitten, like this white kitten with a pink bow. Like if you've ever seen the show Aristocrats, the movie is like that little kitten. And then he just presents that in this fun-loving manner. See, my words are getting mixed up. Thank you, Spirit. So, and that would have been his personality. And then he shows just of talking with this granddaughter, like this was his life. Like this granddaughter was who he gave his attention to, and he wants to make that known. And then he kind of leans over a bit, and he's just kind of like, my heart. He just kind of pats here, and he like nods his head. And his feeling is like, but I'm full of life. My body may have been aging, but I am full of life. And I made that known through my words and my jokes. And then he shows again this kitten with this pink bow. And then he's handing this to this little girl, like, and here's her bow. And he just kind of moves his hands like that's what I wanted to say today. And he kind of sits back with his arms kind of up on his recliner. He's like, I would have had a recliner. And like his cane was nearby, and he'd kind of rock on it. Like, yep, and like in observing and enjoying the moment. And then there's still this husband figure that's now just kind of standing here beside him too. So I do believe the husband would be passed as well for this granddaughter. And they are together. They're making that very picture clear. It's almost like I'm seeing the grandfather sitting in his recliner chair, and then this husband figure is standing back beside him on his right side. And they're like a duo. They're like, we come together. So that's them. I'm going to see if they have any more they would like to share. And if this resonates with you, please do feel free to reach out. You can find me on Facebook under Medium Rachel Vanik, and my email is super easy, mediumrachelvanik@gmail.com. So email, message anytime. And that's like, I feel like I'm still talking to him now, just like this slow, like this calming voice, this calming grandfather. I'm writing down, he's wanting me to write down calming. I was the calm one. And then he shows that there's like other grandchildren running around. So it wasn't that he maybe had just this one, but he had more. But this is the granddaughter that he is focused on today, and that her husband is nearby. Okay. So I'm going to leave them there. And if they have any more they want to bring in, I will certainly just kind of pipe up and let the story unfold. So I don't know if you can see where I'm at today. So I'm in Corning. I'm trying to get an office up and going here. More like a workspace, because sometimes at home we have like 5 dogs, goats, chickens. It gets a little noisy sometimes. So I kind of calmed it down. So I want to talk a little bit about meditation and sage. So sage has many healing properties. So please do not misunderstand what I'm about to say about it. Like, yeah, I took some notes because I get to rambling and I forget what topic I'm on, especially sometimes when spirit wants to pop in. Okay, so don't misinterpret what I'm about to say about sage. It's great. It's a great thing to use. Okay, so everything is energy, right? From the trees to the electronic device you are on now, much like mediumship. It is a matter of maintaining that frequency, which leads me to my point. I left my sage at home this morning, and I was kind of worried about it because usually I like the sage before doing a reading or just to clear the space and the energy. So I left it at home. And then I get here. So what I did instead was I opened my office door slightly to the outdoors like I normally would if I was at home, like open up a window or, open up a door at home. So that's what I did here. So I opened up the door slightly, and then I pictured this white light inside my heart that emanated from outward into this space. And I asked my higher self and guides to help my light and energy to match the frequency that sage would be at. Do I know for sure if it matched the frequency? No, I don't. Like, I'm not a scientist, but I do feel as though it is equal to the feeling sage would have produced. And that is what I know is my feeling. So the clean air and energy, like I'm lost now again. So then I sat down and I lit this white candle too with me. And that leads me to the meditations. Do I sometimes listen to a meditation and try to sit still and breathe? Absolutely, I do. But does that always work? No, it does not. My best meditations are the times I'm staring out at a simmery cast iron skillet filled with cranberries, preparing a sauce for my family meal, or watching the flames dance at a bonfire. Meditation looks very different for everyone. There is no wrong way to meditate. Sometimes it's singing your favorite song as you're enjoying your drive. There's no wrong way to do it. So sometimes that's my meditation. It's just kind of going with the flow and just feeling the energy and feeling the moment. Staring at a candle, such as that's what I did today. And I try to take deep breaths. I try, guys. It's different for everyone. Said to me that I share a little bit about my spirit experiences this past week, to which I thought, like, oh, well, it's been quiet. Because I asked Spirit to maybe please give me some space this week so I could focus on the house. And we have a lot of painting projects going on right now. Well, silly me. So Spirit kind of does what they want to, right? So day one, I found underneath our bed a book, a directory of the deceased from the 1800s. And it was for Holt County, Missouri. And it reminded me of that movie, like Beetlejuice, where they have that book. So it's just Spirit's little reminder of, well, you know, we might be a little bit quieter for you than usual this week, but we're still here. And I looked into the directory a bit, and I will do some more research on it because it is very interesting. It is the ancestry of people who lived in this county, and there was the fellow who made the book, and he did a lot of the research so that way family members could go back and find their lineage. So that's really neat. I'm going to do some look into that. We live in an old farmhouse, so maybe I have family from that area. So I will do some looking into that. And then on another day this week, I'm thinking I'm just going to town to get some paint, right? I'm just going to drive to Mount Ayr and get some paint. Well, a dear friend of mine came to visit. He passed away every bit of 5+ years ago. And he really just wanted to pal around with me all day. And I didn't notice at first what was going on. There was a song on the radio. I'm like, oh. And then it made me recognize his feeling. And that's what he did in the living world is he would just pal around with me. We'd sit around, we would have conversations, and he always had that protective nature. And that's kind of how he was for everybody too. He was well known within the community I grew up in, and he was like that big brother, Papa Bear feeling. And we just sat and chatted. One thing was I was going into the grocery store, and he's just kind of here in my ear. And he's like, that fellow in front of you is going to say, hey, you can go in front of me. I had 2 items. And this fellow had a cart. And I'm like, usually in those situations, I would say no. But he's like, just go with it. Let people be nice. And so sure enough, this fellow turned around and he's like, you can go in front of me. And I'm like, I froze. I'm just like, okay, thank you. Which I never would have done. But I had the heads up. I'm like, okay, I will accept that. And it was very, very polite of this fellow. And then it was just more tidbits like that. He was also a very observant person in real life. And he stood back and he was watching the cashier fiddle with getting the receipt paper up and going. And my spirit friend told me, he's just going to ask if you want a receipt. To which I thought about saying that to him, like, no, I don't want a receipt. And I'm like, no, don't freak this kid out. Like, just wait. And then he asked me, do you want this receipt? No, I don't want a receipt for my cranberry juice. Thank you. And then he was able to go on with his day. And then in the past time, when the same friend had come to visit, he had shown me a tattoo that we had talked about when I was in my rebellious teenage years to get was this it's a spider. Like now I'm forgetting the name of it. Maybe it was like a wolf. It was a wolf spider. To get that as a tattoo, which I never did. I'm not a big fan of spiders. But it was a funny thought. So, and then I go to the grocery store and there's a lady there, and on her wrist was a tattoo of the spider. And that was his sign, like, oh, I really am here, Rachel. Like that is me. And so I'm thinking as I'm going into this Casey's, I'm like, there is no way that this would ever happen again, that he would show somebody else with the same tattoo or anything like that. But what happens is the lady points out to the tattoo that I do have. I'm at the cash register and she points to it and she touches my tattoo and she's like, that's very nice. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. But that was just still mind blowing. So it was little things like that from him, which then I started thinking about his passing and the grieving process. Like, did I ever grieve? Because I'm like, I wish the last time that I saw him, I had given him a hug. And he's like, don't worry about it. I know. And I remember the last time I saw him, I didn't recognize him. I didn't recognize him at all. I didn't even know it was him. I said hello to his wife and I went on. And I always felt a sense of guilt for not giving him that one more hug, for not holding his hand and being like, hey, friend, what's up? And he was just letting me know that that's all right. You know, that's all right. Like, I know he knew that I wish I had done that, and not to hold it against myself for not recognizing him in that moment. And does it make the grief process any easier? No, it doesn't. Like, I'm looking out the window now and I'm like, I wish he'd just come out of the coffee shop and say hi. And I could tell him about my life now. But spirit doesn't hold anything against us, which is kind of cool. They're not like, hey, you didn't recognize me. They're like, no, it's fine. We know that your intention was there. And so that was nice. And yeah, so that was him. And he kind of went on. I do wish at times that I could or would reach out to his family. But I know in time that they'll come, that when they're ready to hear from him and when he's ready to have them here, that they will present themselves or he will have a hand in it. It wasn't that long ago. There was a family member that went by and I'm like, oh. Anywho, so that was on him. Another thing that just happened. Maybe this isn't so much related to mediumship in the spirit world, but it's the full moon. Is it? I don't know. There's something about it. I'm telling you. It's like I don't get much sleep to begin with because spirit's kind of always around, and that's a choice that I make. I allow spirit to work with me that way. But I'm always a little extra off kilter in my sleep right before a full moon comes. I'm sure others have experiences, and I would love to hear them. Because like when the full moon is here, I'm like, hey, that's the night I'm going to stay up. I'm going to put out moon water. I'm going to put some crystals out, and then I sleep. That's when I sleep. But leading up to that full moon, there's no sleep. So I'm running on fumes today. Thank you, coffee and tea. And I want to say a huge thank you to everybody for sending me your questions. I really do appreciate it. Please keep them coming. I will always respond. If I don't always get to it on the shows, I'll email you. I'm an open book. One big question that I was asked this week was, do you ever turn it off? Like turn off the mediumship? No, I don't. The biggest thing I do is like the beginning of this week, I asked Spirit to please allow me a little bit more time to get some stuff done at home. And they did for the most part. But that's a choice that I have made. I work for Spirit. I'm their conduit. I'm just the middleman. And so I'm here when they need me. I'm here when they need somebody to listen. I'm here when maybe they don't want somebody to listen. They just want somebody to sit with them because they know somebody can feel and see them. Excuse me. The biggest thing that led me to working like that was, right, I was confused about what mediumship meant and where I fit into that. Well, what do they need me for? What is the importance of this? And I was confused of what direction this to go. And then I had a dream. And it was a mother, and she had a son who was alive, and she was going around, this mother's soul was going around. We were on the main street here in town, and she was going around to other people who were open to spirit, who could communicate with her. And they wouldn't listen. They were like, nope, I don't want to do this, which is okay. If you're a medium, you do not have to take on the role of doing this. It's a part of you. It does not define who you are. But this soul was looking for help for her son in the living world. And she was going around and nobody was listening. And he was very young. He's about 4 years old on a tricycle, just barreling down a hill. And he was also being abused at home with the people that he had been in care with. It would have been his uncle that would have been his caretaker at that time. And this mother was going around. She just wanted somebody to hear, somebody to maybe go help her son in the living, waking world. And then she came to me, and I sat and I listened. And that's when I realized this is the importance, is they're looking for that middle person to come be of service and to help. Because souls, they go to the people that look like they might be open, and they'll come to you. And it's those that are willing to communicate back. So that dream, that experience, meeting her, made my decision to always be open, to always be ready to listen. Other than giving readings, which I love to do, I meet new souls every day, new people every day. It's beautiful all the way around, and I enjoy the conversations. I also work with law enforcement and detectives, and sometimes other mediums on missing person cases. I always want to remain an open channel for spirit to come through if they want to. If they want my assistance, they will let me know. I am here. I am open. I am ready to receive what they want to share. And sometimes they want to share everything, and then sometimes they don't. It's because it's just not always that right time yet. But I do enjoy that, and I leave myself open for that communication. When I take on a missing person's case, I do a free consultation, and I sit with the information that they present for several days. I open up that space for if the soul wants to come through and communicate. And then I'll either say, yes, here's what's here, or no. I have not received anything. They did not come to me. And so that's a little bit how that works. And yeah, so all in all, it's a very enjoyable experience. So again, please follow me on Facebook. I do free readings sometimes, or you can find me. I do have a website up. It's in the works of getting up and going. You can also find me on Whispers from Heaven. It's a Facebook group. If you would like to come and meet other like-minded people, share your spirit experiences, talk about grief, talk about love. Or maybe you just want to sit back and watch other mediums work. Classes are offered fairly frequently. If you were ever interested, I know it can be scary when you find out you're a medium and you're hearing voices and stuff. I promise you, you're not crazy, and it is a place to come if you would ever like to join. So I hope to meet all of you soon and talk again. Thank you so much for coming today. Again, my name is Rachel Vanik, Facebook. Shoot me out a message. Enjoy your day. I hope you have a beautiful Tuesday.